What's up, everybody? It's Miles, and today I am here to talk about my origin story. We're going to dive into my journey to Vanderbilt Law School. I think that I started out as the typical, or maybe what I view the typical law student does. They ask you, what drove you to law school? Why did you want to go? I always end up saying, oh, I always wanted to go. As a kid, I always said I wanted to go to law school and be a lawyer. I have no idea, and still, to a degree, have no idea what that means or what I meant by that. If I have to be honest, I chalk it up to that's what parents kind of drive you towards when you're good at arguing and talking a little bit too much, like I was, as some of my report cards used to read. But I ended up developing a lot of skills that kind of led, themselves to showing that you had an aptitude to maybe pursue law. I was a high school debate champion. I was involved in mock trial. I was a captain of that team. We went to state finals. Those type of things kind of, drew up this narrative to me and to my family that I was going to be a lawyer. When I ended up going to undergrad at Stanford, I kept pursuing that. But I think by the end of my 4 years, I was a political science major and an African American studies major. So I double majored. By the end of that pursuit, I was completely wiped out. I was far too tired to keep going. And it's understandable. I think at schools like Stanford and at Vanderbilt, the elite nature of the reputation kind of precedes it. And I can say from being here and being there, they both completely hold up. It's very rigorous. It's very difficult. And I know for undergrad, it was very taxing for me to finish out those 2 degrees and kind of enjoy the collegiate lifestyle, being a college student, finding yourself, growing, really starting to experiment and discover with the things you want to be, you want yourself to be about. And so by the end of that time, I had gone into college thinking, oh, I'm going to go straight through. That was not the case by the time I walked the stage and got both my degrees. So to my mother's chagrin, who, God bless her soul, she was quite upset, I decided to take some time off. I started working in the cybersecurity industry and ended up staying there for 4 years. I think that was natural in Northern California, in the Bay Area, the tech, venture capital, startup hub of the world. They look for students that have some engineering background, some computer skills, and a lot of that comes from Stanford, and like Cal Berkeley is right there too. So it was a perfect place to just vacuum up a tired and somewhat spiritually, like in the wilderness student that I was, graduate. And I ended up working in tech for 4 years. But it wasn't because I loved tech that I stayed out so long. It was because I loved developing as a person. I loved being a young adult. You had a job, you were making a little bit of money, you could travel. I went to Italy and Europe once a year until, COVID happened. And with that exception, I have been back every year, at least once. I picked up Italian doing that. I just got to live life, expand, develop as a person with, no restraints or no thoughts of doing school, doing this and that. And so I was happy, and that's why I stayed out for so long. But when COVID came and the world completely stopped, I decided, this was the time to finally go back to law school or go to law school. I've developed, I've kind of seen the world, I've experienced a lot. I've got those wild oats out of the way, as they say. And so I knew law school was going to be a commitment. It was going to be something I needed to lock into. And I think at that time, when COVID kind of brought everything to a pause, I knew I was ready. And of course, my mother was quite pleased. But it was something I wanted to do. So in 2021, in the fall, started applying for schools. I have a lot of friends in law school that are lawyers now. I looked around, I consulted them. took the LSAT, did all those things. But my late grandfather is from Tennessee, and he always used to joke and say Vanderbilt was the most, prestigious school when I was growing up, where I was from in Fayetteville, Tennessee. And to this day, he would always say that held true. So I think he inspired me a lot, as someone who had such a huge part in raising and crafting me to apply. And when I was looking for law schools, I knew I wanted to go somewhere that had great, statistics and prestige and accolades, and all of the top 20, top 30 schools have that. And I think the differentiator I wanted as an older student was a place where the community was going to be welcoming. And I will, stand on the hilltops and say that is Vanderbilt's shining star trait. They have all the other things. They have the faculty, they have the numbers, the statistics, the prestige, but it is the community here, the student community, that sets it far, far and wide in my eyes, separate from anywhere else I was looking at. And I knew it from the moment that I got in. I applied to like 16 schools. Vanderbilt was the first one I got into, and I think from that moment I started talking to students. They reached out to me. I did a campus visit, and it all just started clicking. And it really showed, like, the people that was the difference maker. And I enrolled and haven't looked back since. And everything I've known to be true from even those moments has been tenfold proven more so over the course of my 2.5 years here. And I will be, sad to leave. I am excited to be a big law attorney, but I'll be coming back to Vanderbilt every chance I can get. It's truly a special place, and that was my journey here, and this is me now.